Here are 7 rules I live by. Rule number 1. Don't shit where you eat. This is relevant for wild camping, but also for life in general. I have found that keeping certain things separate is a very positive thing for my mental health and for the longevity of relationships. I try applying this rule to avoid bringing work back home. Basically, how I understand this is, I don't bring messiness to where I spend most of my time. I love mixing groups of friends, but this is different because it's about not mixing certain areas of my life. Before the pandemic, I was very thorough about keeping my private and professional life separate. This has been tricky this year, what with home office, but even in my room in a flat share, I have tried to separate these 2 areas of my life. Rule 2. Slow and steady wins the race. I truly believe that consistency and constancy, paired with a determined and dedicated attitude, will bring me what I want. I can sprint if I want to, I can work very long hours and bring about fast results, but I know that for me, this leads to fatigue, mistakes, and in the long run, lower results. It's not a sustainable solution, and therefore not applicable to many areas of my life. Same with revising for an exam. There's no point trying to cram all the information into my brain in the last week. It's the accumulation of slow, attentive, and constant learning that will have the bigger effects. Rule number 3. Spend less than you earn. I make sure that whatever goes out of my pocket is less than what came in. This allows me to have a healthy financial outlook on life, know that I'm putting money aside for projects or for a rainy day. This is also a rule that I could expand into know your finances. I started tracking my expenses with a spreadsheet and then with YNAB, and since then I have a clear oversight of my finances, which gives me a lot more freedom and confidence. Rule number 4. Crawl if you have to. This one came to me once when I was cycling from Arran to Oban in Scotland. I was going up and down these hills and I was very tired. I hopped off my bike and started pushing my bike uphill, and I realized that even if I had to crawl, I would do it to reach my destination. Since then, sometimes I just know I have to crawl to get to where I want to. This is not only relevant in cycling or hiking, and sometimes it's better to take a break than to keep going. But if I have analyzed the situation and I know that I want to keep going, then I will run, walk, or crawl to get there. And it doesn't matter how I get there. I apply this a lot in learning. When I learn something new, there are going to be days when it's easy breezy, but there are going to be days when it's difficult. And that's when I have to crawl through that day to make sure I continue learning. It's going to be hard, it's going to be annoying, it's going to be grueling, and most of all, it's going to be slower. But it still needs to happen to move closer to the goal. Rule number 5. There are no stupid questions. This rule is so dear to my heart. There are never any stupid questions. Questions are wonderful. They signify a desire to learn, they reveal curiosity, they open up conversations. I ask a million questions and that has always served me well. Asking questions clears unclarities. Ambiguousness can be great, but sometimes one has to clear it up. When I ask a question, I acknowledge that I don't know something. It opens up possibilities. For me, someone who asks questions, when they are unobtrusive and respect boundaries, of course, is always someone interesting. And nobody should be shamed, dismissed, ignored, ridiculed, or whatever for asking questions. It's such an important part of being human and discovering the world. Rule number 6. Have a long memory. It's such a small thing, but remembering those moments when someone made a difference for me, it signifies that I pay attention and that it's important to me when someone has helped me. I hate being taken for granted, and I hate when I catch myself taking other people for granted. Having a long memory combats that. And I'm not talking about holding grudges, and I'm not talking about being forever in someone's debt and being unable to move on from those things. I just think it's important to acknowledge that I am where I am and I am who I am because a lot of people helped me along the way. Being honest with that is important to me, and I always try and give credit where credit is due and to show my thanks when someone has helped me. Rule number 7, trust your ideas. When I was 17 and preparing my portfolio for art school, a friend of a friend who was an artist in his 50s kindly spent time with me to help me. He once told me, trust your ideas. It stayed with me since then because this was someone who didn't exhibit often and who didn't make money from his art. He just truly loved what he did and believed in it 100% and completely trusted his ideas. It was an encouragement for experimentation, an allowing of being confident in ideas which were perhaps not completely formed. And I try to remember this when I toy with ideas and with undertaking certain projects. There are other mantras or rules or phrases I use often to remind myself of certain concepts or ways of thinking. These rules and mantras allow me to remind myself of what I value, who I am, and how I want to navigate the world.